Welcome to Founders Fortitude, Conversations with Audrie Dollins, a podcast where we uncover the raw realities of being a founder, celebrating the brilliance of the teams, individuals, and families working tirelessly behind the scenes, and explore the fortitude, the unwavering determination it takes to navigate the twists, turns, and triumphs of entrepreneurship and life itself. Each week, we will share candid conversations, actionable insights, and inspiring stories to empower you on your journey. Whether you're building a brand, scaling a business, an online creator and influencer, or pursuing your passions with relentless drive, let's dive into the grit, grace, and growth it takes to thrive. Let's get into it. Thank you so much, Kristin and Kirby, for joining me today on Founders Fortitude. How are you today?
So good. Thanks so much for having us.
I am just overjoyed that you both are here today because we have worked together in a capacity for how many years now? Like,
oh my gosh, like 4 or 5. I feel like even longer.
4 or 5. And we work in an industry that is so exciting. It's exciting. I think it's often looked at in so many different views, but we're all in marketing and we work with influencers and brands and we elevate them online. Tell me a little bit about yourselves, both of you together, how you both know each other, and let's give everybody that insight on who you are, and then we can talk about how we came to know each other.
Yeah. I'll go first. So I've been in the industry for 20 years, working in corporate. Everything from, high-end luxury department stores to specialty retail. And I started in the public relations space because when I started my career, social media didn't exist. So I'm dating myself, of course, but social didn't exist. So when it came to businesses trying to figure out what social media was, and then a few years later, what bloggers at the time, now influencers, right, were a lot of my experience was just give it to the PR girl. She'll figure it out, right? So there was no playbook to say that I had to learn from. I really was self-taught. And there's a lot of excitement to that and a lot of things that I was able to learn and grow and do over time, but it took time because I didn't walk into an industry that had already been built, if you will. When I was in specialty retail at Chico's, I hired Kirby as my intern. Back in the day. It was like, gosh, that was like 8 years ago.
Yeah, so major ways back. It's crazy.
That's what, right? You were at Chico's.
Yeah.
So I've probably known you way longer.
That's what I was saying. I was like, I feel like we've been with you close to 10 years.
Yes, I agree. Yes. Yeah. And then Kirby, you came on as an intern. Tell me about that. What your history is and what your goal was of like. I bet you were so excited that you were able to intern at Chico's. I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, so I actually, when I was in college, I studied fashion communication. So I always knew I wanted to go in PR, and then I actually worked at Soma Intimates in college, like at a retail store.
Yeah.
They had an internship program, and then Kristin interviewed me, and it was like love at first sight. And interned twice, and then I graduated in 2018 and ended up moving to Florida and starting my career there in spring 2019, and then through that, was able to work for, various retail brands under Kristin the last few years, and influencer, PR, and then social media as well. But it was great because I was really able to lead all influencer strategy from planning to like the day-to-day campaign responsibilities, which is how I got to work with you and your amazing team for so long.
You're too sweet. And this is so great that you're here, is Kristin, you made a comment of an industry that wasn't quite like we were building the industry.
We were.
We were building what you do, what you don't do, what worked, what didn't work.
Yeah.
This was not being taught, and I still feel it is not being taught in colleges.
It's not. I mean, I didn't know too long ago, but like, Kristin, you said like when we worked together, it was just bloggers. Like, people weren't using Instagram. Like, TikTok wasn't around.
Yeah.
Even Facebook influencers didn't exist. Like, it was truly like blogs and people seeing stuff over,
like blogs and Pinterest. And it didn't click to people that Pinterest wasn't Pinterest. It was people's blogs. They didn't understand. They thought they were Pinteresting. Like they are, but the recipe is owned by someone. This was a social platform. Yeah. And so I say this all the time of people that join our team or that people that ask questions about our company. I'm like, what you think when you walk through, when you are outside of these walls, it's a whole different ball game inside them because each creator, each brand has different things. It's built on their own foundation, and it's a business that is not taught. You can go to school to be this, and you get this. Yeah, this is not. And a lot of people refer to it as social media. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no.
It's the same time. You have to like pivot and be all knowing and like different platforms and different audiences too.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too because I see this in multiple companies, both big and small, where some businesses and brands believe that social and influencers belong together because influencers are now on social media and so therefore they are social media. And then there's other companies that are doing it where PR and influencers are together because media relations, the traditional sense of such, and building relationships with an editor is similar to building a relationship with someone else of influence like a celebrity or an influencer, content creator, and then social separate. So it's really interesting. I've been really lucky, and I think Kirby agrees. I don't want to speak for you, but I love when PR, social, and influencers all work together under one structure because they go hand in hand all the time, and it just makes the storytelling for the brand so much stronger.
1,000% agree. And I know if my operations can hear us, she would be like, amen. Because we talk about the same thing, like PR is social media and social media is influencer and brands and this. And when you have that happy, we're all working together, of course, that's where we both, and I'm excited to talk about y'all's new adventure. That's where we, as people that own our own companies, we are building these people to support that process. Because it's a lot. It cannot just fall upon the brand and it cannot just fall upon this. It is a structure that all works well together. And I'm excited to talk about y'all's next step together. So build us up to the next step of, okay, you both have been in corporate for many years, got amazing experience, and then life's happening. We developed a certain point of success. And y'all decided to do something. What is it?
Yeah, we both left.
Build that up. Dun.
We left corporate. It was a gradual thing for me. I have always felt, honestly, it's probably been 10 years that I have always wanted to do something on my own, but it never, felt like the right time, or there was other things happening that it made it easier to stay, and the structure was there, and the security was there, and all, so many things and variety of such throughout the years. But I'm here to also say there's no perfect time ever, by the way, for anyone who wants to leave. There is no perfect time.
I'm still questioning my decision.
That's also normal.
People question it daily. Like, you know what they say, the roller coaster, where it's like you wake up and you're like, yeah, I own a company. And then by the afternoon, it's like, wait, you guys? And then you're just going down and you're like, I don't know if I made the right decision. And it's like something good happens. You're right back up. Yes, I am. It's like
the peaks and valleys, they are very real. And especially as an entrepreneur, like, you now wear all the hats. You are finance, you are operations, you are marketing, you are strategy, you are, and I'm like, whoa, I am everything, and this can be a lot. And but it's also very rewarding, because then you feel like after a day or so, you're like, wait, I just learned this thing that I had never done before.
It's empowering.
It is empowering. Yeah.
You gotta motivate yourself. Like, it's no longer just a company.
Yeah. And I think COVID helped us too, and in particular, and what I mean by that is there were so many bad things about COVID. COVID was not a great thing. But what COVID did was showcase that people can be productive and do great business from a remote location. And most of us at home at that time. And for me, I then really learned how to have what people referred to in the past as a work-life balance, which I used to laugh at because that didn't really exist and that wasn't a real thing. But now I feel like I have that, right? And it's more like a blend instead of a balance. And I don't, and I'm not going to say never, because never say never, but I really like having the flexibility of being able to work from home, work from a hotel, work from a luxury resort on vacation, and not be upset about it. Like, my own company, and it's lovely. And I love having help too, and someone who has been with me through this whole, journey of hers for the last 8 years now. And it's someone that I don't have to train or teach how to do things. Like, she knows how I work, and she knows exactly what I mean when I say something, that another person will look at me sideways and be like, what are these words? She understands.
I mean, I can relate to that so wholeheartedly, because it's kind of like, they make jokes about, oh, it's my work wife, or oh, it's my work husband, or what have you. But my husband can understand what I'm thinking, or see a face, or see something, or a movement, and he knows what I'm feeling. And when you have a partner in work and business, or a work wife or work husband, I don't like all the cliche things, but when you have one, it's like, and they know it, it makes it's so great, because you're both on the same mission. You're trying to meet the same goal. And when it's, smaller, and I think that's what's so fantastic about you. And I don't think we've actually said it. Tell us what you've opened. Tell us. We really built them up. Now, what is it?
I love it. It is a consumer engagement and brand strategy agency called Arden St. Clair. The name comes from it's the middle name of both of my grandparents. Arden is my grandmother's middle name, and St. Clair is my grandfather's middle name. And I love it. I wanted it to be something close to me and special, but I didn't want it to be my name.
So I will say there is something big coming on our side, because that I think I've let you know already. I believe I let y'all know. Okay, I'm like, I think information. Because I think there's a point that you kind of hit a ceiling with your name on certain companies like this. Yeah. So we're going to be announcing something soon. I'm guessing if you're listening, you can probably figure out what that's going to be. But I think that's such an important thing, because it can stand alone. And with being an entrepreneur and business owners, the idea is, what can you build that you don't have to we're going to be a part of it, because that's what entrepreneur business owners do, but that you don't have to be the entire company. It can grow to be what you start out, and then spear off to so many more things if it's not just your name. I think, certain things are good when you're saying your name, but I think that's so beautiful that you named it that. And then kind of correlating back to what we were saying is, when it's a small company like that, there's such heart in it. There's such, when you're smaller, when you work for corporate, there's so many lines and people, and I don't want to say red tape, because I think corporate's great, but there's red tape. And then you don't see sometimes the immediate effect of things. And in a smaller office, in setting in business, I feel like the smallest, our client grew by 25 followers. That's celebrated. Celebrated, little wins like that are celebrated, because they grow into big wins. And I think that's not noticed. And I think in larger companies, it can just be just like that. It's mass volume. Whereas in smaller ones, you have the direct effect and you really are impacting people's lives.
Yeah.
Now, we work with big brands or we wouldn't have known you guys, right?
Yeah.
And it's those smaller individuals and influencers that are micro influencers that are kind of making some movements these days.
Yeah.
And the little middle ones that are making a great impact. And I love that you started your own firm and agency and get to experience that, which y'all did anyway. Y'all were so close and inviting. That's why we love you guys. So let me go into asking all these wonderful questions I sent over to you that I'm not going off of because, so to wrap it all in, let's talk about the hot topic of influencers.
Yeah.
Their impact in marketing. We talked about how it's now like its own ecosystem with working together with brands and all of that. What is, and y'all both may have different opinions, what is your first thought when you think of an influencer, bad or good?
Yeah.
And what do you wish people knew?
Yeah. So my first thought is that it's everyone at these days. It's the consumer. I think that the biggest thing brands need to latch onto next, and it's becoming so important, is that we are influencers. You are an influencer. And I don't mean that in the sense of like the person who started out as a blogger who then got the title of influencer. I mean, we all have influence among our own community, among our friends and families. And so therefore, we can all be seen as an influencer. And I really think that, where brands should be headed next is utilizing their employees and their customers and traditional influencers / content creators, right? And building this house of community that promotes their brand in different capacities. And so for me, when I hear the term influencer, I think it's all of us.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Do you get hesitant to tell people that you work with influencers?
I don't.
No, I actually take pride in it, like, because everyone's like, that's such a cool job, and do you know so-and-so? And
yeah.
But I think it's probably very different than what people think of when you're like, oh, I work in influencer marketing. It is glamorous at times, but there's also a lot more work that I think people don't know that goes into it. And also just like the connection is what like I love having influencers in-house, like building connections with the influencers, but also like the agencies like yourself. And sometimes you don't get that from like working with a third party, but I haven't like received any like negative feedback or anything.
I think the reaction that I always get when I tell someone I work in influencer marketing in addition to all the other like marketing that I do, people are always like, oh, do you know so-and-so?
Yeah.
And it's like their favorite influencer that they
Yes.
So you need to know there's like hundreds of thousands of them, right?
Exactly. And then what's so funny is I'll know them by their real name, but I won't know them by their handle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but her name is Anna. Or, like I'm like,
Same thing.
and then like I'll walk off and I'm like, oh, wait, she's talking about, so-and-so, not this person. I know them on this side. But I think that you're kind of, and we've had this conversation too of that, we talked about COVID. A lot of people were consuming so many things because they were at home. They really leaned into the influencer community of, how to style your home office, how to do things, projects, activities to do with your family, things to cook, because we were all searching for that, and no TV shows were being made. It was all paused, there were no movies hitting. And so it was like rapid fire of growth. And then when it's kind of coming, like working itself back out, because now it's in person. And I think that's where, like you said, take your team, take your customer, take the influencer, take in person, have a cohesive marketing approach, and not putting put all your eggs in one basket, but let's spread, but I think it's not just influencers, it's the cohesive thing. And we talked about that too, of what should brands be doing? And I love how you said lean into your team, lean into the customer, because I think you have to be a little bit careful. I mean, I think the last time there was a brand that went a little overboard with a party, and customers are like, why can't we get those free?
Right.
You know, what are your thoughts on that? Do you see the fine line of that? I mean, I love both.
Yeah.
Right.
I love a little bit of both. I love, like you said, highlighting customers. But what about these these influencer events?
Yeah.
How do you fall on that?
When I first started in this space, you know, throughout, I think it was like halfway through my career, this was introduced, and what was happening in my experience was the fashion editors that we used to have events with were now like, wait, who is this person that I don't know that's not a fashion editor, but like is an influencer? And they were sort of a little standoffish at times. Not all of them, but some of them were a little standoffish because these influencers were getting, you know, front row seats at fashion shows. They were getting invited to the most exclusive events. They were part of the crowd now. And I think there was a negative taste in some editorial journalists' mouths a little in this space. And so this is now coming into like the influencer space of like the influencers, I think, are getting this a little bit with like, oh, that's a customer, like just an everyday customer. And it's like, yes, but you all have to understand how important and how, you know, special it is when you're all under the same roof at the same time and part of this brand. That's what makes up the brand. Like, it's the whole community.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I kind of laugh a little bit because I'm like, oh, I've been through this before with editors and influencers. Now I'm going through it with influencers. But there's a way, and I think, you know, I'm proud and appreciative of my PR background and having to navigate the conversation and the communication around it, and letting them all feel special in their own way, because they are, and they truly are important to the brand. And so for me, I think it's important to have everyone under one roof. I mean, there are great companies out there. Can I name some companies? I don't mean to like.
Whatever you feel comfortable with.
So,
whatever you're comfortable with, I'm great with.
Okay.
People are saying cuss words on their podcast, okay?
Oh my God. We won't do that today.
We can say brands.
Oh my goodness. Well, there are, you know, some companies out there like CNC that are doing these pop-ups out in the wild, right? Mm-hmm. And everyone's invited. Influencers are invited. Media,
I love that.
That are walking by are able to just come and experience and like get free things, and that's important. That's what's going to build the brand awareness and get people taking photos and posting on social, and that's what you want. So
I'm going to drop a name too, because we're working right now with Susan G. Komen and one of our clients, the Mom Game podcast, and they Emily Jones is a sports reporter for the Texas Rangers. Julie Dobbs has been on the ticket, local here, and was a sports reporter for the Dallas Stars, and they have their own podcast. Well, we're taking Susan G. Komen, we're taking the podcast, we're going to the Truck Yard Fort Worth, we're inviting audience members, celebrity guests, influencers, just so many different people. And then what's happening? We're doing marketing processes like blogs, newsletters, graphics, all of the cohesive things. And then there is, you know, we've integrated some other businesses, like there's going to be a hat bar there. And y'all have attended my events. You definitely know.
We love
it. So the hat bar is going to be there where they get to design their own hat, and, you know, popcorn machine. And I think when the, you know, person that has of influence, the charity or the brand that is cohesive with that, along with bringing influencers and so many people, and to have that, it's so impactful, and it's giving back, and then it's having time with who your audience is that is excited to even share. And I think, Kristin, you and I talked about this on the phone like maybe a year ago, and it's kind of like that. I think we were talking about sports, and it's like I was talking about youth sports at the time, where if you give, you know, let's say your budget's $1,000. Mm-hmm. If you gave one influencer $1,000 for this one thing, but what if you gave 5 sports moms $200 to share this bat for their child? Yeah. That mama is going to be on fire to share and talk about this bat, because she was given $200 and a free bat. And it's not that influencers don't bring great audience and growth. It's the mixture. And we talked about that. It's the mixture of customer and audience and investing and where you invest that. Because if you spent that $1,000 on 5 moms, it will produce something. It is going to produce something, and it'll look a little bit different. And then invest this over here. But that kind of goes back to everyone is of influence. And what does that look like? For sure.
Well, and that's the thing. And that's where I think, brands have changed so much and evolved over time. When I first started in this, it was the brand wanted to be, dictative over the tone and the voice and what the influencer was saying. And they wanted to basically write a script as if it were a commercial.
Right.
And like now it's like you can't do that at all. People want to buy from other people, and they need to use their own brand voice while talking about your brand, right? And because that's what makes it authentic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can tell. You can read right
through it. At the end of the day,
100%, because their audience, and that's where I think brands for a while, I think they're figuring it out. Thanks to great people like you guys and myself. But it's like, you cannot speak to your audience the way that so-and-so speaks to their audience.
Right.
And we laughed about cuss words, right? I say cuss words. They're influencers and TikTokers. That's what they're known for, you know?
I follow some of them.
And that's why we love them, right? So if they like cleaned up their act and they were like robots, everybody would be like, I'm not buying that. That is not real. Right. Tell me how, and I tell every creator and I tell every person that walks in this office that helps with our clients is what problem are we solving for the everyday person?
Right.
What, and that's what brands have to look at. How does she approach her audience? We follow people for their different reasons. And Kirby, you just said that. I follow this type of person and this type of person. That also comes with age. I follow some young creators because they know what's cool and hip. I said hip, like that's a word.
Okay,
and I just aged myself. Then I follow women my age. I follow women that have children that are my children's age because I'm a younger mother. My children are older. They're 22 and 16. And so like, okay, what is an empty nest? And that's what, we're going over to you. Hello. And then I follow women that are older because I'm like, what are they using? What's perimenopause? What is all that? Because I think it's it. I think it's time. So follow all of these different people, and the brand has to see when they're investing in that, where they can fall in line with those different things. Now, don't change your brand messaging, but how does it fall in line with their audience for them to be authentic with it?
Right.
Because what somebody and I'll use skincare as an example, somebody at 55 is not going to be using what somebody at 21 is going to be using. And what products do you have that align?
Yeah.
So with that, we've all have the wonderful experience of building all of that information, of saying and speaking on behalf of a brand and influencer. We have had the experience together where we've had to carry messages from influencers and brands, right? It's one of those things. We all smile. Yep. Because it's hard, sometimes what an influencer thinks they're worth is not what we're seeing. Do y'all feel that's the case?
Sometimes. Yeah.
It can be hard. And it's also just being like a little picky, like you said, like with the brand messaging, like it has to make sense. Like there could be a person that I follow that I love, but it might not make sense for the brand that I'm working on. So I think it's a balance there. Like I have relationships with certain people, but I'm like, this is not a good fit at this time and budget,
Yeah.
Probably the hardest part, honestly, which I know sounds silly, but
I think it's really it is. Like you have a passion.
It is the hardest part. And I sat down with someone at LTK and she was like, you need to come up with those hard questions. Like we were talking about, like if a client decides to go with another company, how do you react to that? And how you do it gracefully without burning bridges and without almost that word. That's not what I meant. And trim and cut. but without burning bridges, because ultimately they're making a choice, of their own growth and their own items. And so I think that's one of those questions is, how do you gracefully say, sorry, that's not in our budget. Now, we would love to continue to work with you, but if you can hit this tier and this tier, we may have a possibility for growth, because we can't promise that, because brands set their budgets and
right. And they change too sometimes.
They do. And that's the hardest part. And it's not that they're, and then it's going back and say, hey, this didn't perform as well as we hoped, and we need to see performance. And I think brands sometimes don't ask for that. And I say, don't be afraid to ask for a courtesy share or a courtesy pat for growth, because I think, and we talk about brands being cohesive, I think influencers need to be cohesive for the longevity of success. Yeah. I think the most successful creators I've ever worked with do the same thing, and they have the open mind and, I'm going to put them in my blog and newsletter without them paying for that, because that brings a new audience. And I understand the hard work and being valued for your time, but I think if the influencer cohesively has a marketing strategy of their own to support brands, they will get more in the long run. Yeah. And not just a one and done. I hate that. I've been on that side.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough.
It's tough. I think there's a balance. I mean, for me and in my experience, there's a balance between when I was in-house, right, at corporations, educating the leadership and the people that are, they're approving budgets and they're approving, whether or not we can build a program like this, right? So there's the education part of, you can't just do or expect a one and done and get these magical results, right? Some influencers, and most in the case for me, they take 3 to 6 months to really start to show and prove that their audience is becoming engaged, because some people, when they first hear of a brand, right, it takes a while to get them to convert. And that's the same too from a brand marketing perspective. It takes longer for someone to convert when you're trying to gain new customers. And it's the same way in influencer marketing. So having to explain that internally is important. At the same time, having to educate either the influencer or the manager of the influencer and saying, hey, here's how we can make this go faster. We can pay you, we can be in partnership with you for a couple of months. But if you do things in between and your audience starts to see the authenticity of the message and the fact that you are genuinely happy and proud to be working with and wearing or using the products and or services of this brand on your own, right? And it can be some stories. It doesn't have to be a formal reel or a post or anything. Right. Roundups, of course, where multiple brands are mentioned because you're not paying for it as a brand, but that's where both parties win a little bit, right? And so it's hard because I understand I'm not taking away the worth of the influencer. They are worth a lot, right? And building that online community is really important, but it's a partnership and it's a little, push and pull. And that's where I wish both parties could understand. And so being in our seats, right? Yeah. It's just this constant toggle of back and forth relationship management of leadership and influence.
I love that. Yes. I mean, I think we generate a newsletter to our internal clients every week of some type of education. We meet with them every week, and we work with all stages of creators, as you guys do as well. And it's from so many millions of hundreds of thousands of followers to smaller, and so many on their different apps. And to anyone that's at a different stage, and we even say to the larger ones, because if they are inundated with so much, how important it is to reshare that just out of your own marketing process. It's not going to hurt your real estate. It's going to make your real estate be worth even more. And I think that's where it's a little bit, I don't think you need to go, oh, we're only paying you for this. I don't think like you said, you don't have to do all of this, but where else are you putting them to get a little bit more of growth on your own? Because in marketing, it's rule of 7. That's not a wrong thing. You have to see something so many times, and it is going to re-serve the message, and then the authenticity is going to naturally be there, except just one thing.
Right.
And ultimately, if you are there to help the brand that's invested in you, the brand is going to turn around. It may not be that month. It may not be that 6 months, but you will not forget. And I think that kind of goes with professionalism within the industry of how you're doing.
Yeah.
What are you seeing as far as you both? What are y'all's plans for the next Q4? What's going on? Tell us about I have it in our notes that we were talking about. What do you foresee? What's like your goals this fall leading into the new year?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm just trying to get through 2025.
I really just want to make it to October 1st, Audrie, which is
Really, I was just telling Kirby, I was like, I cannot wait until October 1. I feel like we have a great season ahead because I'm such a holidays, I get the holidays.
Like my porch is already decorated and ready.
I love it. That's so exciting. Well, I'm also we both are Swifties, so we are very much looking forward to what's coming on October 3rd.
That's true. I forget about that. Let me make a smaller question.
Yeah.
You talked about what with you transitioning from corporate to this.
Yeah.
What is that fortitude? You talked about what is that strength that when you're a little bit nervous, like you said, you're taking the leap. What is pushing you to do this? Kirby, you're about to get married, right?
Well, we're going to do like 2027, but I'm
Okay.
still kind of planning. And that was one of the reasons I was really interested in freelancing, was just getting a little bit more balance and having that flexibility too. And I did talk to a lot of my friends in the retail industry and kind of leaned on them. And we did kind of agree that corporate isn't as stable as it once was, and that the only person you can really rely on for your career is yourself. So that's what I kind of have to remind myself when I'm having those moments of like freak out, but also that I'm able to do the work that I love with that flexibility. I think it's so important. A lot of my friends are starting to have families, and I'm able to kind of some more time with people I love, while also doing the work that I love.
I love that.
I want to tap into something that you just said, and this is not on our questionnaire sheet or anything, but we talk about this a lot. We talk about, as a business owner, being an employer, the things and the demands on that. You talked about corporate not being as stable. What does that mean?
Yeah. So, I still love corporate. I was in it for so long, but in full transparency, I've seen, multiple rounds of layoffs.
Yeah.
Where I've had close colleagues get let go with little to no notice, across different industries too. I have friends kind of all over.
Uh-huh.
And so I think kind of looking at it like corporate isn't the only way anymore. Like I think even when I was first starting my career, I was like, this is my only path. Like there's no other way. Like just climb that ladder, and like success is only measured by like, promotions and titles. But I think now, like just with remote work and even like the creator economy, like there's so many other ways like you can have your own success besides just the corporate molds, which I think is really empowering. And I think a lot of people are kind of starting to see that too.
I think a lot of women in particular are starting to recognize their worth, and that, for many of us, it was about climbing the corporate ladder and breaking that glass ceiling. And it still is for many people too. But women are making such a great impact, even, just being a stay-at-home mom. They're making a great impact.
Yes.
And that's important, that we as a female community come together and lift each other up with whatever it is that we decide to do.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that, because there's a lot of demands out there, and there's changes. There's so many things. So I just think about it because as a small company, I kind of research, and something was we were looking on LinkedIn because we grow and we have employees that move on to do other things, and how do we explain to our clients like, oh, they've moved on to something else, etc. And that certain things like that. And we were looking at LinkedIn, but we're looking at corporate. And it's like, okay, wow, there's a lot of hirings, or we saw that Starbucks was doing a huge layoff, and I'm like, what's happening out there? Because we're growing and all the things, and we have transitions, and how can we offer to our team to make it somewhere that they want to continue to work? So I asked that when you talked about corporate, because we obviously are a small little company that are, is a little engine that could, but what does corporate look like out there? I used to drive by when I was young and be like, I'm going to work in that big office in downtown. Right. And then, we have one here in Frisco, but I just asked because y'all have been in corporate most recent and just what that looks like. So I love that you identify at the growth of your experience and what you both can provide to brands and creators and in this platform, because I think too, you served these brands and now you're able to serve the way that you know how.
Right.
And the education that that when you were in the trenches of it, you now know what you can offer to so many. And I love that.
Yeah.
That's my question. What's the fortitude for you to keep going? What drives you?
For me, it's really, I come back to myself and my wellness practice and just having routine, whether that's journaling, walking, meditating. Like, it's really important for me to stay grounded and for me to continue to work on myself and my growth, both personally and professionally, because I think as I do that, I actually am becoming a better professional. I'm able to stay, more positive about this entrepreneurial side that is very different, but I'm not starting from nothing. I'm starting from 20 years of experience. And so I have to stay grounded and rooted on a daily practice. And that's what keeps me going. I mean, of course, like my lovely little family of, I have a boyfriend and we have 2 dogs. And
I was gonna say your dogs.
Yes, our dogs keep us going. They really do. We're both dog moms and we love them so much. And they're probably the most spoiled dogs on planet Earth, but that's okay. They're only with us for a short time, so it's really important to spoil them.
It really is so true. So true. Okay, Kirby, what do you got? What is your fortitude? Oh, wait. Okay. Your handsome fiance. What a cutie pie.
Isn't he so cute?
It's the hair.
Yeah.
He's got good hair.
I know, we always joke, he's like, would you still love me if I'm bald? And I'm like, yes. But he is honestly so supportive. Like, he is amazing, truly, and just kind of helps me go, like, supports me, and obviously our dog too, and have just been great in this new chapter. I was obviously, kind of like, is it time? And he was like, I'll support you, whatever you want to do, and just kind of helps me do my day-to-day and also make sure that I decompress, kind of what Kristin said. Like, I think it's so important to have a wellness. Like, unfortunately, mine's not working out. Mine's more like taking baths and like reading and watching Bravo. But
I made carrot cake and pumpkin bread, and like, I wish it was working out. I'm like you. I'm bad.
I get it.
But still, that's my like other personal goal is just to try to like at least like walk more. Like, I got my walking pad, which I think you do too.
Yes.
Those little things. But also just reminding myself, why I do what I do and why I love what I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not always easy every day, but in the whole, my operations manager says this all the time, and she says we're not being chased by bears.
Right.
Yeah.
It's fun.
We had something similar. We were always on days that we were stressed out. I'm like, we are selling pants. We are not saving lives. Like,
yes. Tanya Foster told me this one time. She said, we're not doing brain surgery, so everything's going to be okay.
Sure.
We're literally taking photos. We get to do something amazing. Yeah. And I think I daily have to remind myself this, because I'm like, we've got to be so great. And, we can be eaten up by that, or we let, this deal or that deal, and absolutely everybody's going to be okay.
Everyone's going to be okay, and everything's going to work out.
Yes. Yes. It's actually me trying to tell myself that. Can you tell me this one more time? If you could tell, and I don't know if you have this on you or if you want to send this over to me, but if you could tell the audience something to read, a quote, something that, or a tip what would you tell them? Whether they're an entrepreneur, an influencer, or a brand, you can pick one. But what would you tell somebody right now that something like a good piece of advice from you both? What would you tell somebody if they wanted to be either of those three?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's find your joy, like whatever excites you. You know, for me, sometimes just listening to a podcast really gets me going, and I like suddenly have all this energy and I can like crank out 100 things and it feels great. But whatever it is, like find your joy. If it's baking, if it's working out, if it's listening to podcasts, if it's just taking your dog for a walk, like that little bit of happiness actually changes your day and the trajectory of what's to come. I always am so sad when people, you know, just go and haven't stopped and realized that like they haven't done anything for themselves that day. Audrie, am I calling you out?
I'm working on it.
Okay, good. We're gonna hold you to it.
Okay.
Surely, I think it's important for everyone to find a piece of joy throughout their day. I understand we can't do it 24 hours a day, but even 5 minutes makes a huge difference. So find your joy is what I would tell the audience.
Yeah, I love it. What about you, Kirby?
I'm a huge reader, so I think reading books like of other women in the industry has like helped me in seeing their career path is not always linear. So like, you know, Girl Boss, or there's a couple other ones. I don't know the names off the top of my head. I can definitely get them over to you. But
yes, I would love that.
Like I love just reading those. I mean, I wouldn't consider them like self-help books, but like just hearing their journeys and knowing that they've failed before and they're, you know, still top leaders in the industry has really helped me. I've actually read Kelly Cutrone's books a couple of times, and like she's just like fun and like crazy, but in a good way. And so I think reading those has helped my career, knowing that you don't always have to be like buttoned up corporate. Like,
yeah,
it's gonna be a little chaotic, and embrace the chaos is probably the biggest thing I've learned, and being able to pivot quickly as needed. We're not doing brain surgery, but sometimes it feels like it's a very fast industry. So
it's fast. Yep. Yep. And then it's like, I'll be like, oh, my inbox, like everybody's fine, right? I can't believe there's nothing in my inbox.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. I think, and knowing people like you both in this industry is what brings me peace. I know that if I send an email or a text or something or called, and Kristin, we did that, like we called each other, and outside of our professional lives, but as professional people, of man, I'm struggling, or man, this is great, or let's connect and talk this out. We are in a marketing industry, like we talked about, that does not have a school of teaching. We have built this ourselves. We are part of the founders of this. And when you surround yourself with like-minded, experienced people in this industry, it brings relief, because they don't understand. Some people don't understand what all the in-between of what is in production on that social media platform to where it began. And whether that brand launch failed, overly succeeded, all of those things, we are the people that make up the in-between. And when you are, like you were talking about, we all work remote or in different places, because we work together here in our office, but our clients are not here. Our clients are not sitting next to us. So we potentially work remote. So how do we, connecting with them and understanding that and building all of that together? That is, you can't just talk to your girlfriend that is a teacher at the school. Like, they all know each other. You know what I mean? Like, they don't understand the industry. So surrounding yourself with like-minded people that have experience in this, it's just so important. And I think that's what I would tell any person that wants to start out in the industry, to surround yourself, no matter what state they're in, but connect with somebody, because you can't, not everybody does this,
Right. Your network is so important, though. I mean, that's the biggest thing I've learned. It's like, sometimes it's who you know, not what you know, because you can learn the what, right?
Yes.
Your network of people, and it's friends, family, colleagues, it's old bosses, it's people in college with, it's professors, it's everyone along your journey. Like, stay close to them and keep them in your wheelhouse.
And the industry is so small. Like people resurface like all the time, and
Yes.
people on like LinkedIn or like texting from time to time is like so important just to nurture those relationships.
1,000%, which leads me back to that question that a friend of mine asked, like if a client or someone decides to go in a different route, I promise you, like you said, it's a small community. It's going to surface. It's going to you're going to see them again. They're going to work with you in some capacity. So always stay positive in that and be confident in the work that we all put in. And it may not always fall our way, but it will fall back. It will come.
Well, yeah, in the funniest of ways sometimes.
Look at us. Well, I appreciate you both slowing down and taking the time. Y'all are doing so many things. I love that we get to work together in this capacity. If someone wanted to work with you, contact you, where can they contact you to speak with you, email, call? How would you like them to follow and learn more about your company?
Yeah, they can follow me on LinkedIn, Kristin McClement, or I'm most active on Instagram. It's Kristin_McClement.
Okay.
My DM.
We will put all this information in the show notes too, along with the quotes and the books and the things.
Right.
And I love that. And thank y'all both so much.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
Audrie.
much.
Okay, so I am going to close it out, and I always say this at the end of the podcast. I always say, thank you for joining me, and capture, brand, and engage. And let's do big things. Okay, that was it. That was my.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Founders Fortitude Conversations with Audrie Dollins. For details and links from our incredible guests, be sure to check out our show notes. You might even find exclusive discounts and special items we share that aren't even mentioned during the show. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to leave a 5-star review. It truly helps us grow and continue sharing valuable insights with you. You can connect with me daily on Instagram at Audrie Dollins, AudrieDollins, and don't forget to visit my website at audriedollins.com, where you'll find years of blogs packed with tips and insights to help you thrive. As always, capture, brand, and engage, and let's do big things.